Hi, welcome back to the Positive Prepper. So, if you guys watched the last video that I did, uh, there's a lot of emotion in that one. So this one we're going to keep kind of light today. So I titled this one, Prepping Proverbs. And I can't take all the credit for these. Several different people have talked about these at different times. And but I thought they were brilliant. And so I wanted to share them today. So the first one, trust is a must. So if you can't trust someone in your group, if you can't trust that someone in your group is going to have your back or be able to step in when they're needed, then you're not going to be able to focus on survival. Because you're always going to be looking over your shoulder or exceeding your own limitations to try to, fill in all the gaps that you feel need to be filled. And of course, you also have to trust the people in your group or the people that know what you're doing, so that they're not giving away what you're doing as far as your preps go. So trust is a must. The second one, you are stronger when you know your abilities and your limitations. So an example of that is the last mag weekend that we had. I took my bug out bag and I put it on, and I was carrying a rifle. Of course, I had my sidearm and my knife and all that. And I wanted to see what my ability was. Was it too heavy? How far could I go? How long could I go? You have to be honest with your group people about what your abilities and limitations are. If you say that you can do something and then the time comes where you have to do it for survival and it turns out you really can't, you're putting your entire group at risk. Sorry, the mosquitoes are a lot worse than I thought they would be out here today. And so when you know your abilities and your limitations, it makes you actually a stronger part of the group. Okay, the next one. Fire is hardest to start when you need it the most. So, and this kind of goes along with, being efficient in a group. So, in order to conserve your resources, you need to be able to start that fire immediately without using a ton of grit or sticks or a ton of matches or a ton of your fire starting stuff. I don't know, the dogs are going crazy back there. So practice it. Practice starting the fires under different conditions, using the least amount of resources to get that fire going. Because then when you actually do need it, you're going to have that skill honed. I think we're on number whatever. It is easier to find shelter than make shelter. So if you don't know how to go out in the woods and actually know how to make a shelter, whether it's a teepee shelter, a lean-to, a tent using a tarp, whatever it may be, you're going to want to try to do that. But then it's also finding shelter, so knowing where maybe some abandoned buildings are, caves, if you have caves in your area, pockets of places that you can go to be safe. The next one, a knifeless man is a lifeless man. And this is actually an old Nordic proverb. You need to have a knife. It's an absolute must as part of your preps. But then you have to practice your skills with it and make sure that you have the things that you need with you to sharpen it and to keep it lubricated so it doesn't rust. So having a knife is definitely part of that. The next one. There's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes. So make sure you know what your base layer should be, and then have your you're basically layering clothes is what you're doing. And then your outer shell, of course, should be waterproof. Cotton absorbs a lot of water. They have all this new clothing technology, if you will, that keeps you cool, but it also keeps like moisture away from your skin. It allows you to sweat, right? So you always want to be dressing to survive. If an SHTF happens in the winter, you're going to have to go out and cut wood and do some of these other things that you need to do in the wintertime. So it's not about, I am not a winter person. I'm going to be honest. I do not like the winter. Okay. I don't like being cold. I don't like snow. I know I live in Wisconsin. What am I saying? But it's not about, I wouldn't get cold if I would probably dress for the weather appropriately. But I hate hats. I don't like things on my head. But obviously in an SHTF, I'm going to have to get over that and dress for the weather. The next one, knowledge is nothing without the skill. So it's really easy to sit back and watch all kinds of prepper videos and, learn a whole bunch of things like how to do CPR and how to build a shelter and how to sharpen a knife and how to start a fire. But you have to get out and hone those skills always. And you need to do it so that it's kind of like second nature to you. Okay? Having the knowledge of how to do something and having the skill to do it are two completely different things. So you should be out practicing everything that you can. I see a lot of really cool things like on YouTube on this platform. And it's like, ooh, I want to try that, So we went out and we built a shelter out in the woods with the pellet wrap. Just to see, A, if we could do it, and B, to see if it really held up the way that they said it would. And so, it's not just the knowledge, but it's going out and actually doing it. The next one, light duty gear won't survive hard use. So you need to look for long-term heavy duty gear, not cheap Walmart stuff. And I need to be careful how I say this because I know a lot of people are on a budget. Having something is better than nothing. So don't take this as what you have isn't good enough. Okay, because that's not what I'm saying. But if you see something that you like, buy 2 of them so at least you have a backup of it. And then also go to like military surplus stores because the stuff in those stores are made for combat. And so they're going to last a lot longer, and they're also a lot less expensive than buying through like private companies or individuals or whatever. But I will tell you that small companies and individuals probably make better quality stuff. So get gear that, if you're in survival mode and, you don't think that thing's going to last, get 2 or 3 of them. Always have a backup, at least one backup for most of that type of stuff. The next one, when you really need it, it won't be for sale anywhere. So again, and this kind of ties in with the one that I just said. If you find something that you really like, the chances are when SHTF happens, you're not going to be able to go get it. So make a list of those things and then do some research on where to get it that A, doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, but will also hold up when you're in survival mode. And the last one, I think, kind of ties in with everything else. You'll never rise to the level of your expectation, but you will fall to the level of your training. So and I've said this already, but you need to get out and you need to practice those skills. You know, we know that when an shtf happens, it's going to be 10,000 times worse than our worst case scenario that we've envisioned, right? It's going to be way worse. And if you have an expectation of, well, I don't need to practice that because I know when shtf happens, we're going to be fine. That's going to be your downfall. Whether it's you as an individual or you as a group, you need to hone your skills. Whether it's doing drills, tactical drills, or cooking over an open fire, or gardening, or even trapping animals and then knowing how to process them, how to cook them, how to preserve them. The foraging, where you go out and you find the things in your backyard that you can use, when you can't get the stuff in the store anymore. You have to practice those skills. You have to practice them individually and also as a group. Because if your expectation is that we're just going to be fine, we don't need to practice this, you're going to fail. Okay? If you can do things, and this, again, it kind of ties in with some of the other stuff, but practice those skills in adverse weather. Practice it when it's raining, when it's windy, when it's snowing. Okay? Because if you can do it under those kind of conditions, you're going to be able to do it even better in like good weather. Okay? So you'll never rise to the level of your expectations, but you will fall to the level of your training. So stay training, stay doing things, build those or hone those skills. Okay? All of these things are going to help you in long-term survival. So I want to thank everybody for sticking with me on this channel. Thank you for the new subscribers. I do appreciate you. Um, you know, let's stay the course. And as always, stay safe, stay aware, and God bless.